All right. Another edition of Boxing Chit. So Joshua here along with Slaven, 86 Boxing, Boxing Haven, The Connection. We're doing it once again. How's it been going, Slaven?
Yeah, pretty well, pretty well. Yeah. We
Good
got
to
some
hear.
sunshine here and blue skies.
All
Can't
right,
come.
sounds good. Yeah, we have a
Yeah,
little bit of sunshine here today. It's been pretty good weather the past few days. A little rain mixed in, but not too much, so can't complain.
yeah. All
So
right.
the snow is done there.
Yeah, it's done. Thank
Okay.
goodness. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Good. Well, along with it heating up, the boxing world is also heating up, and we can jump into
Yeah.
that. A lot of action is taking place, and a lot of good action is coming up. Of course,
Mm.
we're recording this here today, which is April 17th. So yesterday, the big fight that took place was the pay-per-view between Errol Spence Jr. and Yordenis Ugas. Of course, Spence came in with the WBC and IBF welterweight title, if I'm not mistaken, and Ugas had the WBA, which he would have won by virtue of defeating Manny Pacquiao in what was supposed to be a fight between Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence before detaching his retina last year. So this was going to settle the score on who was the top welterweight between them. And I will say that Errol Spence Jr. did not disappoint. He ended up winning via 10th round TKO after he pretty much closed Ugas's right eye, and it was swollen to the point where he couldn't see out of it, and the doctor ended up stopping the contest. But taking the eye out of the equation, it was just an outclassing that was dished out uh, via Spence, because Spence, he seemed to be in the best form that we probably have ever seen him, and the way he was able to dismantle Ugas throughout that fight showed that he is pretty much the top welterweight in the world. Him and Terrence Crawford, of course, and I know that's the big fight that people are clamoring for. I don't know if you had a chance to check out the highlights or anything from this Spence Ugas
Yeah.
fight, but that aside, I'm sure you have your thoughts on it on both fighters. So, what did you think?
Yeah, I did see the highlights, of course. So yeah, it's early on, like first 6 rounds, it looked like a pretty even fight to me. Even though, yeah, maybe Spence was doing a little better, but he got also knocked against the ropes in the 6th round, I believe, by Ugas.
Yeah,
So Ugas did pretty well. I mean, as I expected, but in the end, yeah, he got a really bad swelling that looked pretty grotesque, and
yeah,
Spence simply dished out a beating in the end. So yeah, he was as I expected. I mean, I didn't really expect him to win by a knockout, and I said that maybe he can win if something like this happened, like a bad injury. I can see him winning by stoppage. I don't remember exactly my prediction, but I think that I said it. Only he can pull it off, like a
yeah.
stoppage. Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there. Yeah, I figured that Spence was the better fighter coming in. And I'll say that the knockdown or the stumbling into the ropes that happened with Spence there in the 6th round was due to a mental slip. Ugas knocked out his mouthpiece, and Spence stopped, and he was looking for the mouthpiece and got hit with a
All
few
right.
punches. And that's what ultimately sent him to the ropes. And Lawrence Cole was the referee who we've seen on a number of occasions, and he always gets the big fights in Texas. You know, his brother's on the athletic commission or over it. But Lawrence Cole looked like he was going to step in there, but then he changed his mind all of a sudden. So Spence took a couple of shots right there. It was just a weird little sequence that was
Yeah.
tied to the mouthpiece. But he was able to bounce back from that. And like you mentioned, yeah, I didn't foresee Ugas getting to stop his victory over Spence, and I figured that if there were a stoppage, it would be Spence. But I did think it would be a bit more competitive and had the potential to go 12 rounds. But from what I saw, I only gave Ugas 1 round. It just so happened to be that 6th round where he was able to get off those clean shots during that whole mouthpiece fiasco. But outside of that, Spence looked like a man possessed in there, and he had a high motor, and he was throwing punches pretty much nonstop and throwing them with authority. And I think he was probably doing this to show that, hey, detached retina, the accident, all that aside, I am still the top guy out here at 147 pounds. And it's hard to argue with a performance like that, though
Yeah,
Crawford just previously stopped Sean Porter, who was also a top caliber fighter.
yeah, that was more like maybe a TKO, a more of a knockout than this,
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah.
he did drop Porter twice. Yeah, I think Spence was definitely looking to make a statement, and I did watch the pre-fight, the last press conference where they asked him about this. If he had slowed down following the accident because of the Garcia fight, it was kind of boring. But yeah, he was like, yeah, very like, yeah, I'm going to show you that I haven't really slowed down. You know,
Yeah,
he was,
he did.
yeah, he was looking to silence those doubters, obviously, because yeah, he had been given some, quite a lot of doubts, by some
Yeah.
of the sports writers, and but that's kind of typical, right, by them for
Mhm.
sports writers in general. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy that he can now challenge finally. I mean, get to challenge Crawford, and that fight should happen as soon as possible. And because also Crawford is now what, he's like 36 or something, 37. I don't know.
I
He's
believe it's 34. 34.
34. Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
believe
right,
he's
34.
34.
But he's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
be
yeah.
35 this
Yeah,
year, I
he's
think.
gonna be 35, I believe. Yeah, this
Yeah,
year.
so I believe
Now's the perfect time.
he will also want that fight to happen as soon as possible before
Yeah,
he eventually, is no longer at his best. So yeah,
yeah. And I imagine both of them are seemingly or have stated the potential of moving up that has come from the mouth of both of them. So, regardless
yeah,
of the outcome, this may be the last welterweight fighter for the two of them if they fight each other here at the end of the year. And this would be for the undisputed title, which would be pretty awesome. I can't remember when was the last time there was an undisputed welterweight champion. I'd imagine it's been a pretty
yeah,
good while. Thinking about it.
yeah. Especially with those four titles now.
Yes, yes,
We
and it's
had like, yeah, Donald Curry, I think, and Lloyd Hannigan among the last, perhaps undisputed welterweight champions.
and that would have been the 3 belt recognition, right?
Yeah,
So maybe this
yeah,
is a first as far as in this 4 belt era. Maybe this will be a first as far as getting an undisputed champion, which would
yeah,
be right. That's a statement making. It would be the biggest fight for both of these guys, and I think that
yeah,
yeah, hopefully it works out for them, for us and
yeah,
the fans as well. Because yeah, boxing has been known to let some of these fights marinate a little bit too long, but now seems to be the perfect setup after the performance by each of them.
yeah. Well, Crawford is the kind of guy, even if he may not. I mean, even now, I don't know how prime he still is, but he's a really good, like a technical boxer, and
Yeah,
very clever. And he changes his those goes from southpaw to orthodox, which is very unusual. And so he
yeah,
doesn't really depend so much on that physical kind of factor of being in the best shape possible.
yeah, yeah,
Because he can always outbox you simply without being so, yeah,
yeah.
like
It does make for an interesting interesting prediction. just thinking
Yeah.
about the potential tools that each would throw out there and who would come out on top. So that's going to be one that is going to have a lot of build up. So as soon as it is announced that it's
Yeah.
a done deal as far as them competing, so I'm certainly looking forward to them. This is probably more anticipated, the most anticipated fight I would say since Mayweather Pacquiao. Though
Yeah.
I do feel that Anthony Joshua versus a combination of Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder a few years back would have had that kind of same sort of view and lust to it. But unfortunately,
Yeah.
those stars didn't align, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, well, I think probably they will make this fight by the end of this year. I mean, like October, November, I think most likely. Unless
Yeah,
something, of course, should come up. God forbid. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I agree. So yeah, hopefully we get that. Cool. Yeah, there were also a couple other fights on the pay-per-view. I thought the pay-per-view undercard was not really too good. It was a it was fights that were that had guys who were a little bit past it in terms of Josecito Lopez. Of course, Uriel Gamboa's past it. So Isaac Cruz defeated Gamboa, knocked him out, and Gamboa looked as horrible as he's ever looked. He's coming off of
Yeah.
that injury. Of course, he's now 40, and he looked like he didn't have an ounce of explosiveness left in him. So hopefully, this is his last time out, or at least
Yeah.
at this level. You know, he's more so a
Mm.
sort of stepping stone at this point.
I mean, if I was his manager, there's no way I would let him fight, especially not against, I mean, the guys that are rather elite level, or, like Isaac Cruz. I mean,
Yeah,
he gave Gervonta Davis such a, hard fight. And then you come on. I mean, it's really ridiculous to
yeah,
put Gamboa in there against a guy like a young tiger or lion, I would call it, however you
yeah,
want to call him. I
yeah,
think, I really hope Gamboa retires now, and he should have actually retired before. But
yeah,
I guess
yeah. A good
that's the
while back.
ego. Yeah, the ego thing, and maybe the nostalgia also working
Yeah,
there.
and they're giving him paydays, you know, against these guys. So I'd imagine that's hard to turn down, you know.
Yeah, and that too, of course. You want to secure his future, but there must be easier ways to do that than getting like bashed like that, getting your brains and body bashed by
Yeah, and maintaining your senses, you know. Yeah. So
yeah.
hope.
I mean,
So
yeah, Cruz is like what, 23, 24, I think, something like that.
yeah, he's somewhere in that range. Yeah, he's a young guy.
Yeah, so it's just such a mismatch. I knew that there was no other way it could end, but with Gamboa being knocked out, so
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that was one contest, and then this guy Cody Crowley, he beat Josecito Lopez, who's up
Yeah.
there in age as well, and his better days are certainly behind him. Uh, so yeah, it wasn't a great performance for Josecito Lopez, but he lost the decision.
And he has never really been, I mean, like a really elite, maybe, well,
Yeah,
not really elite level fighter, like more like a B
no.
fighter who got a
Hmm.
couple of good wins.
Yeah, and he
So,
made for some exciting fights. You know, in this one,
yeah,
it wasn't exciting on his part because he's one of those guys who looked like he wasn't able to really engage in those sort of hard fought uh, back and forths any longer by
yeah,
comparison to how he was several years back. So I think he's coming here to the tail end of his career as well.
yeah, just a tough guy, yeah, a brawler who, it was him who broke Victor Ortiz's jaw, right? That was him, right? I believe. That was
Uh,
kind of, he got a little lucky
oh,
there.
okay. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They did fight.
So that's his
So
biggest win, really, I think. And I think he stopped another guy who was like very like I don't remember, but that was who was washed up
Oh yeah,
not so
yeah.
long ago. Who was that? I don't remember. But that's all. Like that's all of his credentials, pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah, basically. Yeah,
yeah.
and then Francisco Vargas, who came back a couple of years back, he was knocked out in the first round
All right.
by Valenzuela. And of
That
course,
was
yeah.
yeah.
You were able
That
to
was a
catch it?
big surprise. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Vargas, he's past it himself as far as he's not that same fighter he was. And
Yeah.
this is his second sort of run, I guess you can say, but it hasn't been too successful. He's
Right.
probably another fighter who should think about hanging it up as well.
Yeah. It seems like he's really had a fast, how do you say, road. I mean, fast downward
Yeah,
spiral
from some of those
trajectory.
wars.
Yeah, with Salido and
Mm,
Berchelt, and yeah.
yeah. And so I don't know if he has much punch resistance, and he already had issues with cutting. So yeah, he
Mm.
should hopefully hang
Yeah.
him up. Um, Another fight I wanted to mention is, and I was actually chatting with you in this regard, is Buatev versus
Yeah.
Sanionis, and this is a
He's,
welterweight sort of
yeah.
eliminator, I guess you can say. This was
An
a great
all
fight.
Eastern European showdown.
Yes, yes. I
Yeah.
don't know if you're able to catch any highlights of it, but these two
No,
were
not
were
yet.
banging.
No, not no. You
Okay,
said,
cool.
yeah, you told me it was a really good action fight. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it was. These two were giving and taking with the best. So I thought that Stanionis won the majority of the rounds. It ended up being a split decision, which many people felt that Stanionis won it clear enough to be a UD. But Batayev, he had some good moments. I only gave him 2 rounds in the fight. And I think it was primarily because Stanionis was a busier fighter than him throughout this, and he was landing, and his jab is very elite. Stanionis, this is he was showing an elite jab, and he was landing it with pop against Batayev. Batayev had some moments, and at the end, both of them, their eyes and things were swollen, so that they were landing hard and heavy. But they're definitely the two of them are a problem at welterweight. And Stanionis, I have to give him his props because I felt that he was being pushed out there rather quickly, and he didn't have a ton of fights under his belt. But after seeing how he handled being in there with Batayev, yeah, he'll be a problem for any of the top 147 pounders.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Because he's like the guy Gideon sees from Lithuania and a welterweight, and
Mm-hmm.
so but he seems to be perhaps even better than Kavaliauskas,
Oh yeah, yeah,
maybe.
yeah, yeah. I think he's better than him for sure. I think he's
Yeah,
a much stronger fighter. Kavaliauskas, the mean machine.
yeah,
He's a solid fighter for sure. You're
but
solid.
more of a classic puncher, right? More rather
Yeah,
than
yeah.
boxer puncher. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and Virgil Ortiz, I think him and of course Crawford had beat him, and Virgil Ortiz, the type of punishment he was dishing out, that was able to stop him as well. And Stanionis, seeing how he looked against Batayev, he can take a punch. He can definitely take a punch. I would say both of them
Mm.
could. And Batayev, of course, he was taking more of the punishment, but he kept coming forward. He was like doesn't change his expression, but Stanionis showed that he's probably the top fighter out of Lithuania, and that's just
Yeah.
basing it on how he looked in there with another elite level opponent, or opponent who had elite level traits at the very least. So I think that he'll be a tough matchup for anyone. I would like to see him in there with the guy who. So the two of them primarily worked from inside the pocket. So they were there and there was no backing up. They were just going at it. So it'll be interesting to see how he looks against a different type of fighter who isn't sort of there to bang with him. He has to move around a lot. But I know he beat Terence Delorme. He didn't look too good, but they were saying he
Yeah,
said in his interview that was the worst he had looked
Delorme.
ever. So I think
Delorme is
he's
pretty.
legit though.
Yeah, Delorme is now should really think about hanging
Yeah,
him up.
yeah. Speaking of guys that should hang him up, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, but
he's.
it's good. I like the fact that there's another because those Baltic states never had that many
Oh
boxers,
yeah.
especially not successful ones. But
Mm-hmm.
now they got like with Briedis from Latvia and
Oh yeah.
this guy from Lithuania, uh, with Kavaliauskas, of course, before him, but still now it's kind of starting to shape up also there, and that's good, of course. The
Yeah,
more,
yeah.
the more, the merrier.
No,
Uh,
yeah, I agree. Yeah, Breedis might be the class of the Baltic states, as you mentioned.
yeah,
I'd like to
he's
see him
really,
back in there. I'd like to see him in there against a
yeah,
Coley. I know we've
he's
talked about this a number of times.
yeah, that's right. He's really, really talented guy. Really, I mean, just the fact that he kind of, I thought that he beat Alexander Usyk actually in that fight. So even though it was
Oh
close,
yeah,
but I thought he did win like 7 rounds. I believe that he did, but he didn't
yeah.
get that decision, of course, because he was still not such a big name back then, unfortunately. And Usyk was,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the decisive factor, I believe. But now
Yeah,
he is a big name, so
yeah. He is. He is. And, yeah, I agree. So he's
strong
37
guy.
now.
Yeah, but that's the problem. He's now getting on in age, but still, I think
So
he's got a couple of years left before he's totally washed up. That shit.
yeah, he'd be a good. Yeah, him and Okoli would be a good
Oh
fight.
no.
Hopefully, we get that next before it gets a little too long in the tooth as far
Yeah.
as that fight being made. I see he fought last October against Arthur Mann and won third round TKO.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so yeah, hopefully something gets lined up for him. That's why I did like the World Boxing Super Series because the cruiserweights were able to get some love there, and they were able to get spotlight that they typically don't get.
Hmm. Yes, now I appear from the dark. There was a dark, so I had to ask my mother to turn on the lights.
All right, good to go.
Just getting dark here, so
Okay, yeah, yeah, that
yeah.
is right. 'Cause it's
Yeah,
more in the evening there.
yeah, that's right. I think, well, Coley is, of course, a big challenge for anyone with his height and size, and he can punch. But as we saw in his last fight and some of those before that, like against Maddie Askin, I watched that fight
Yeah,
live. I remember whenever he's not able to really, I mean, to put away his man early enough, then he has problems, and the fight kind of gets uglier, and
yeah,
he has to go the distance, and kind of, that kind of stuff, wrestling, and
yeah,
that's what happened in his last fight, also, of course.
yeah.
So
Sloppy got a little
yeah.
chippy and
Yeah, I think
awkward.
that's simply because of his height, and he's
Mm-hmm.
not so. Those very tall guys are not so effective always offensively. So yeah, it's better to be of normal size, guys. Don't forget that. And you
Oh yeah.
very tall guys stick to basketball and stuff like that, brother.
That's funny. But yeah, yeah, I definitely feel you there. Cool. Well, yeah, so we'll see what's in store there for Breedis and Okolie and see if any announcement or anything comes about. But in that
Okay.
regard, of course, one of the fighters, I think Okolie, is it who's this trainer? Is it what is it? The son of someone, McGuinn.
Ingle, maybe Dominic.
Oh no, Engel. So it's
Yeah,
not one of the McGuinn, but
just the sec. Or yeah, maybe that's that guy. McWigan.
McGuigan. Yeah, I think that's
Shane.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
Shane. So
Shane.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's who Coley's trainer. But they had another fighter, Chris Billum Smith, who fought on the
Oh
zone
yeah,
card.
I saw that one. Yeah,
I
I did.
actually missed it, but I caught that tail end right there as it finished.
Yeah, he was fighting that black Irish guy, Tony McCarty.
Tommy
Yeah.
McCarthy, yeah. So it was a stoppage or a KO at 8 rounds. He landed, Chris Billum Smith landed a
Yeah.
solid combination that dropped him. And I've seen Billum Smith a number of times now, just by virtue of he's fought on a lot of these zone cards and was on them during the pandemic and all that stuff. I think he's fairly solid, and he has the size. He
Yeah.
seems to have the charisma, the name, and everything to be so a major player. So it's just a matter how he continues to look moving forward, and if he continues to get
Yeah.
better, I think he can be a pretty good or a big name.
Yeah, definitely. And it just depends on how he's guided, in future trained. Yeah, it's so. And then, yeah, but I just kind of remember, yeah, Joshua Buatev he's
Oh
going to
yeah,
have a fight soon. Also, yeah, that's
yes,
true. Against
he
that guy, what's his
Richards,
name? Yeah,
Michael Richards or something like that.
or Craig maybe. I don't know.
Craig, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, is the guy that Dimitri Bivol fought
Oh yeah,
like a
right.
year or so ago. So it's a
So
decent opponent for Buatsi.
yeah, Watts is really he's got a lot of I guess raw talent, but sometimes I think he's got some defensive issues still. That
Yeah.
he's sometimes too wide open for kind of uppercuts. Because when I watched that fight against Bolotniks, when he didn't
Okay.
win in
Yeah.
the end by a TKO, but he was taking a lot of shots from a guy who is not exactly, a war level fighter. He's more like a European level Bolotniks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
Buatsi's eye was like almost closed in that fight, right? Or it might have been closed,
yeah, he did.
if
I
I'm not
mean,
mistaken.
he was taking quite a lot of shots, and I believe he lost like 3 or 4 rounds at least of the first 10, and then he got the stoppage in the 11th. So that was
Yeah.
a pretty, like all right performance, but I wasn't really impressed because that guy had that been like someone like really, really solid, like war class, then all right, that would be a really
Yeah.
good performance. But this is a guy, and yeah, by the way, he's also from Latvia. This guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
Bolotnis.
Yeah. I remember seeing that fight. Yeah, it was a tough one for Buatsi. Uh,
Yeah,
But I'll say that guy, he had a somewhat awkward style, but he had a never give up mentality. So when Buatsi was
yeah,
hitting him with stuff, hey, he was bouncing right back. He had heart and grit to him. I give him
yeah.
that.
Yeah, he was such a funny guy. It was like before the fight, he was saying when he wins, he will eat pizza and drink beer. He was like very, very jolly. He was almost convinced he was gonna win. So
That
that's
is
good
funny.
when somebody has really good confidence, even if it's a little too much confidence, but
Yeah,
it's positive. Yeah.
yeah, I would agree, and I think how Matchroom has brought along Buatsi so far has been pretty good in the sense that I think he's faced a lot of different styles so far in his career, and I think that should play out to
Mhm.
be a benefit moving forward. So we'll see how he
Yeah.
handles things as the competition continues to step up, because now he's entering that territory where, hey, you're top 15, top 10 guys here that you're going to be facing.
Yeah.
He's starting
Yeah.
to enter
We'll
that at
see.
least.
Yeah, it will be very exciting to see because what he does. he has a power, but he also, can be hit, and that's why he's like a potentially exciting fighter to watch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I would agree for sure. And speaking of exciting fighters, of course, this card that Chris Billum Smith was on was headlined by none other than Connor Ben, son of the great Nigel
Yeah.
Ben, as they say. He was taking on
Yeah.
Chris Van Heerden. Van Heerden, a South African fighter who came in with only 2 losses. I believe it was Jerron Ennis and Errol Spence gave him those 2 losses, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So Van Heerden, he's a solid guy who can box and has generally shown that he has a pretty solid chin, but he does eat a lot of punches. At least that's the case when he's in there with an elite guy, and that has been sort of his downfall. I think he also lost to Amir Khan. So I could, yeah, or something happened with him, and I believe he faced Amir Khan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, or he had one fight, lost one fight early on points, I believe. That was a
Yeah,
close one. I
this
don't
person to
remember.
look up. Oh yeah, not
Yeah.
Amir Khan. So yeah, I'm mixing him up. I was thinking Phil LaGreco. That's what I was thinking of when Amir Khan fought him. So not Chris
All
Van
right.
Heerden. So yeah, Van Heerden. Yeah, his losses are to Enos
Yeah,
and Spence.
that was like a technical draw, I believe, against
Oh
Ends.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? Yeah, you're right. It's not. It wasn't a loss. That was a no decision. They changed it to
Yeah.
another decision. Oh yeah, I remember that. They had a headbutt right there at the beginning. So his loss was to
Yeah.
Nikola Stevanovic
Oh yeah,
back in
yeah, that's right.
2010.
The Serbian
2010.
guy, yeah, he was pretty good. A light
Wow.
middleweight, actually. Yeah, he was a light middleweight.
Yeah,
I
he
remember.
actually. I just looked him up, and he actually he after that fight he fought once in 2011 and 2012, and then he's been out, but he has a fight in 2021 that he.
Yeah, it's a shame because they didn't really have in Serbia. They don't have that many boxers who are have fought like on that level. So
Yeah,
he
I
was
wonder.
one of yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what happened. Because that's almost 10-year gap. And he's 34,
Mm,
so he's yeah, he was seemingly pretty good as he was young.
yeah,
He's not that
I
old,
believe
but yeah, I wonder what happened. Yeah.
I remember he fought the brother of Arthur Abraham once. Yeah, he lost 1 point, I believe. Yeah, but that was in
Oh yeah,
Germany. So
yeah.
I think I watched that fight. So yeah, that's right. I watched the whole fight on this channel once. Yeah, when I had the fight channel, that was a long time ago. When you could
Mm.
get that stuff like for free. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yes,
he was
yeah, I saw
like
that
I
last time.
remember he was a really like offensive fighter, but he didn't have much power. That's
Oh,
right. He
okay.
was a very, very like aggressive and yeah, tough guy.
Sort of like Josh Warrington, huh?
Yeah. Just doing
But doesn't quite
yeah,
have that pop.
work
Cool.
yeah.
But Connor Ben, man, he looks to
Yeah,
be the real deal. The way he handled Van
does.
Heerden and broke him down right there in the early parts of that fight. He looks to be the real deal. He does have
Yeah,
pop. He has speed. He has the mentality, and he looks like he's going to be a very, very elite finisher too. Because when he gets someone hurt, he knows how to get in there and do what he needs to
yeah,
do. So I will say that he looked good in that performance, and this opens up the door on what could be as far as his next potential opponents. And a lot of names have been thrown out there, some of them being veterans who are pretty much past it to a certain degree, but may still have a little bit left in the tank, a la Amir Khan. Of course, Adrian Broner's name has been thrown out there.
Cal
So
Brook.
Kell
Yeah,
Brook, another one, which would probably be a better option as far as if it
yeah,
were
like
between Brook and Khan. But we'll see.
definitely. Khan is really a shot guy, definitely. And but yeah, I really love the Conor Ben's athleticism really. I mean, he's like a panther when you watch him. He's
Mhm.
pretty amazing, and yeah, I love that the fact that he's so aggressive. He doesn't dwell. He doesn't wait so much to throw. The
Yeah,
shots to attack. And I always hate it when fighters do that, when they wait and wait, and when they are too cautious. I don't
yeah,
like that. I mean, nobody really likes that, of course. So
yeah,
he's very aggressive, but still he does know how to pace himself and when not to when to throw, and yeah.
yeah. I
So
agree. I agree
yeah.
for sure. But yeah, he seems to have a pretty solid pedigree, and he's athletic. And
Mhm.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, he'll just have to kind of maintain that control because you can tell he brings emotions into what he's doing. So he has that passion and everything about it. So as long as he stays buttoned up in that sense, then yeah, he has a
Mm.
bright future. And yeah,
Yeah,
it'll be
definitely.
interesting to see who he faces next. You know.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, if you would, or Scale Brook would be a good choice,
Yeah.
or somebody, or maybe I don't know, like even somebody in Stanionis, maybe, or and he now even holds
Oh
a
yeah.
smaller version of the title, so
That would be
WBA right there.
hey, that would be a tough one right there. That would be a tough. I think that's a 50-50 fight in some sense.
Yeah,
But yeah, that would be an interesting one right there. I
yeah,
don't see them making that right now,
or
but then again, who
maybe
knows?
yeah, yeah, or maybe even David Avanesian would be a good
Oh
opponent
yeah,
for
Evanesian's
Conor.
name was thrown out
Yeah,
there, and I would say
yeah,
yeah, that's a major step up. That because Evanesian is a
yeah.
beast.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, especially in the last few fights, he's been really wrecking guys and
Yeah.
pretty good fighters. Yeah, also kind of
So yeah,
solid.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, if he were to go step in there with Evanesian next, I would say he deserves all props. I would say he
Yeah,
definitely deserves all props. I would, and I've thrown this out there before, but it's probably not going to happen because I don't know what his mind or where his mind is. But even Josh Kelly, Connor Bean versus Josh Kelly,
yeah. Josh Kelly, right?
who
And
David
he has
Evanesian
all.
beat.
But yeah, he was knocked out right by Avanesian. It was I don't remember. Was it the first round or
It was the
sixth? Maybe I don't know.
sixth. Yes, it was the sixth.
Yeah,
So he has a
yeah,
fight lined up for May 13th. But Kelly, they were highly touting him as this top prospect, which he was, and he looked the part. But maybe he moved up a
yeah.
little too quick, or at least they thought too much of him a little too quick. Because I also thought that he lost to Ray Robinson, and it ended up being a majority draw
Oh
back in
yeah.
2019 as well.
That was also the guy that Kavaliauskas drew against. I think there was some
Yeah.
controversy around that fight. The result, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ray Robinson got the short end of the stick a few times, and he definitely, I thought, outboxed Josh Kelly, and that's where you kind of could see that
oh
hey,
yeah,
maybe he's not ready yet as far as that level of opponent. But 2 fights later, he was in there with Avanesian, and Avanesian basically broke him down.
yeah. He's really been. I mean, he was stopped by Kavaliauskas. That was actually a surprise, Avanesian, but still.
Yep.
That was simply a matter of him taking on a really, really big puncher and yeah, getting taken out. But
And he lost the
he's
decision
still
to Lamont Peterson.
oh yeah, but he's still a very good fighter. I mean, who has actually probably learned something from both those losses. And yeah,
Yeah, I would say he's better now than he was then, the way he's looked as of late.
yeah, exactly. That was what I was gonna say. And apart from beating an old Shane Mosley back in when was that 2016,
Oh yeah,
17. that was
2016.
pretty much all that he had back then, so yeah.
Yeah, he beat Kerman Leharaga, the Spanish
Yeah,
guy. I remember watching that fight.
twice.
Yeah, also he beat him twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yep, I guess I can't remember which one I saw, maybe that last one. So that was the first round stoppage.
But yeah, the second one, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
That was real.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
2019.
kind of took his zero also.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did. He did. Yeah, that's interesting. So yeah. But he's fought a
Raga
number
is
of times since
also
then.
he also a kind of limited puncher kind of type.
Yeah.
Raga, I would say. Yeah.
And he seemed to have decent backing in Spain,
Yeah.
which they have some pretty decent fighters that have come out of there that are still active now, of course. But yeah, yeah, with Ben and what he does next, yeah, and Avanesian, that would be a major statement and step up, in my opinion. And how he looks against him would tell us a lot. And so we'll
Mm.
see. We'll see. That was the only fight I was able to catch on this the zone card, actually,
All right.
outside of seeing the little tail end highlights of Chris Billum Smith. So I still need to go back and watch some of the other stuff. I know Alicia Baumgartner defended
Yeah.
her title that she won off of Terry Harper.
Yeah, that was a pretty one-sided fight, I thought. Even though a woman, Matisse, she landed a few good shots, but she wasn't really in the fight that much.
Yeah,
She
with the
just,
name Matisse, you have an expectation, right?
yeah, but she just did this entire fight, and then sometimes she would counter. That was all. I hate
Oh,
when
okay.
they do that. It's like Arthur Abraham style.
That's what I was thinking of too. So yeah, I imagine the punch stats looked lopsided then.
Yeah, I just call it the cowardly style.
Yeah.
Simply.
Yeah, Abraham used to do that, and freaking that's how Kevin Kingpin Johnson, yeah, that's his fault. It's very annoying.
Yeah,
Annoying
like
style of fighting. He would take all that punishment and then he would try to talk trash, but you're not even throwing any punches,
yeah, it's just ridiculous. Like,
Cool. So moving ahead, going back a week, April 9th,
yeah,
Golovkin Murata. Hopefully you're able to catch some of what took place with that. I actually watched it live. It was at 8 something in the morning here when I just so happened to click on the thing because I was asleep, and then I woke up and I was like, oh yeah, it's coming up. And as soon as I jumped in, they were already in there for round one. They were only a few seconds in or whatever.
yeah, I also watched it live. It was around 2 o'clock in the afternoon here, I believe. And yeah, it was a rather a big, I mean, a surprising fight in some way because Murata was, I mean, at first he looked better, definitely in the first 5 rounds. And he was doing a lot of, he hit Golovkin a lot, in those first 5 rounds.
Yeah.
But Triple G obviously still has that chin of his, and
Oh
he
yes, he
just
does.
took all those punches, and didn't look anywhere close to being, in real trouble. But he did take some really clean, hard shots. And then, of course, you saw what happened. In the round 6, he started, to really push back Murata. And yeah.
Yeah, he was
Bully.
looking like the Golovkin of old at that point. I would
Yeah.
say.
Suddenly there was like no stopping him from round 8. There was, I mean, you could see that he was going to stop Murata.
Yeah,
Soon.
you could.
So,
Yeah, Murata started taking even more shots, and Murata, of course, has never been known for his defense, but he was doing pretty decent to start out things.
Yeah, and Murata, the problem was he hadn't had a fight for over 2 years, So that was a big mistake, of course, by his management. But yeah, I guess
So
they kind of thought that, oh, Golovkin is old now, you can take him now.
So I'm guessing
So
he hadn't fought since he rematched Rod Brent.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Or no, he fought Steven Butler, Steven from Canada.
Oh,
That
okay.
was
So he did have. Okay,
yeah,
yeah, you're right. That was in 2019 as well. So yeah, I
yeah,
knew it had been a minute for Golovkin as well. He had been out since the beginning of 2020 though. So,
yeah.
but yeah,
I
Stephen Butler,
mean,
I see that. Yeah,
yeah, that's the difference pretty much. I mean, you could see the difference between a very good fighter and a great fighter in that fight, simply because Murata is a very good fighter, no doubt, but he's still
yeah,
he isn't of Golovkin's caliber and never will be. So
yeah.
that's
I agree.
yeah,
I certainly agree in that regard. Yeah, he doesn't have a ton of fights. He's 19, and he's
yeah,
yeah, probably yeah, closer to that tail end of he's 36 now. So,
yeah.
and of
So
course, Golovkin is 40, but you know,
mm,
so he was a younger
still a
guy.
young,
But
yeah,
so it'll be interesting because now, of course, the chatter is after Canelo versus Bivol, the potential for that rematch or that trilogy fight, I would say, to
yeah.
kind of seal the deal on and close the deal on the whole Golovkin Canelo rivalry. So this will require
Mm,
Golovkin to move up to 168 pounds, I believe, which would
hmm,
be I don't know,
maybe,
maybe that's a comfortable thing for him at 40,
yeah.
especially. I don't know how
I
much he
think it
cuts.
would. Yeah, it probably would. Like by now, it shouldn't be kind of rather hard for him to make 160
Yeah,
because he's also naturally quite strong and robust and yeah muscular. I mean,
yeah,
maybe not as much as Canelo, but
yeah, yeah,
Canelo,
yeah.
he's been under suspicion. I don't have to
He eats
go there.
different type of meats,
Yeah, that's right. So, but he's
But,
always been. I mean, Golovkin has been very naturally strong and very
yeah,
tough guy.
that
Just
natural pop.
yeah, a classic destroyer. Yeah,
And he made that. He's definitely known for using that Russian or that Soviet style punch. I forget what they call it.
yeah.
Soviet area overhand. He made that even more famous.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, he just the way he puts his punches together. That's why he's so great. Simple as that.
I agree.
And
So
yeah,
yeah, yeah, he still seems to have a little bit left in the tank. Maybe more than a little bit. So it should be
yeah.
interesting, him and Canelo.
But I really don't know if it would be smart to fight Canelo because Canelo now is so much bigger and stronger than when they last fought. And still, I mean, Golovkin is still, even though he's a rather young, 40, he's no longer, it's the legs they go when you have to
Yeah,
fight 12 rounds, which he most likely would have to, against Canelo. His legs start to give out after like 10 rounds or something. And yeah, so
yeah,
he wouldn't have that advantage anymore. I mean, any kind of
yeah.
advantage.
Yeah, you're right. That's the thing that I wonder about as well, because I'm looking, yeah, it would have been 2018, September 15th, actually, when they last fought. So we're bordering
Yes.
on 5, 6 years before they're actually going to be in there again for that second time. And we can
Yeah.
definitively say that Canelo has gotten better, bigger, stronger during that time. And Golovkin
Yeah.
has slowed down in his pace of fights and
Mm.
seemingly slowed down a little bit just in his overall style and ability or the way he
Yeah,
carried himself previously.
he hasn't gotten better for sure.
Yeah,
There's
that's
no
what I
way.
would say. That's what I would say. He
Yeah.
hasn't gotten better. Maybe he's plateaued. I don't know if he's necessarily gotten worse, but he definitely hasn't gotten better progression wise, as we've seen with Canelo since that point. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, I would say that year was probably when his prime ended, like 2018. Yeah, I would say. Yeah. And then he had the Derevianchenko fight. I don't know if that was 2019 or 20.
Yeah, it was. So he fought twice in 2019.
Yeah, but he didn't look so great, you know. And
yeah, that
when
was a
he
grueling
said
little
he
fight
could have
for him.
lost, and yeah,
And some people felt he did. You know, some people felt he lost that.
Yeah.
I didn't think he lost, but I could see that some people probably had it going a little bit differently, you know.
Yeah, I know. I mean, of course, people tend to be a little more critical towards a famous fighter when he doesn't really look great. When he looks less good than usual, then you say, "Oh, he should have lost." Yeah, I know it's like that very often, but yeah.
Yeah, and you know, and Derevianchenko, he's pretty solid. So in hindsight, it was a pretty good fight. But Derevianchenko has since then, I think that took a toll on him, and of course, he hasn't been able to bounce back really since that Golovkin fight. I guess it started with Danny Jacobs, but that wasn't as punishing for him. But this Golovkin fight was punishing, and of course, that Charlo fight was punishing for him. So. Yeah, Derevianchenko, even though he only had maybe like 15 fights or whatever, just looks to be already kind of past it, you know?
Yeah, and his problem is that he's not really a big puncher, but so he always has to go the distance in these big fights, you know, against tough guys, and he's not able to end those fights, you know, and sooner, especially. So he's a brawler, definitely.
Yeah.
But
And I'm looking at him now, because he had such a crazy trajectory. Because I actually saw him in DC. He was on one of those. When was this?
Turn on some more light.
Yeah, no problem.
Because it's really gotten dark now here.
Yeah, maybe maybe I didn't see him in DC. I thought he was, but I did see I guess he wasn't on that. No, it wasn't him. Yeah, there was this Ukrainian guard that was in DC that had Lomachenko. It wasn't Derevianchenko. It was actually the guy who Arthur Beterbiev beat. And he was undefeated at the time. The Ukrainian fighter. He was good.
All right.
The nail, I believe, is his nickname.
Oh yeah, Gvozdyk.
Oh yeah, Vazdik. Yeah, Vazdik. So saw him. Yeah, and then Usyk. It was a nice card. It was at the MGM here in DC. So
all right.
a lot of the Ukrainian fans turned out for it too.
I think Gvozdyk has had a comeback fight, or has he?
I do remember seeing something about him doing that.
Yeah, I think he won that one fight anyway, since Beterbiev fight. Yeah, he's pretty good, of course, but just simply not enough for Beterbiev, I guess.
Oh no, I'm not seeing it. Yeah, it had to show up. I remember seeing his name in the in the air or out there online in regards to coming back. It looks like it hasn't happened yet, but I do remember seeing some stuff about that.
Yeah, it hasn't happened. That's right, because and that's a shame. It's also 2 years since his last fight against Beterbiev. 2.5 years. So that's gonna be tough for him coming back.
Yeah, I mean, and definitely, if he has intentions on the title, then that trajectory is going to be tough for sure too.
Yeah, maybe
at least getting back there.
Maybe he will return as a cruiserweight because he's rather big, tall, light heavyweight.
Yeah, he's 6'2".
Yeah.
6'2". Now his reach is not as long, 75.5-inch reach.
Right.
Well, given it not long compared to his size, but it's the interesting thing. but yeah, it'll be interesting to see yeah what he does. But yeah, and I know we were talking Golovkin,
Mhm.
so yeah, we'll see what Golovkin does if he's just gonna wait out Canelo, which may be the logical thing. I'm thinking that Golovkin isn't going to turn this down because it's probably like, hey, this might be the last major fight of my career, and of
Yeah,
course, doing that against Canelo, regardless of what the outcome may be, that's going to be a huge payday for him, you know.
yeah. That's why I fear he will not. It will be just too hard for him to turn that fight down. But I fear he will just suffer a bad loss and maybe even I don't know, a bad beating anyway. But
Yeah,
that remains to be seen anyway. Yeah.
yeah. We'll see. But yeah, there's definitely some bad blood there. So I'd imagine
Yeah.
Canelo
We
gonna be
know
in
how
super
hard
focus as well.
we know how hard it is to win against Canelo, in America or anyway in
Mhm.
Mexico also
Yeah, yeah.
especially. So you really gotta like win 10 rounds or something to to get a decision, I guess.
Yeah, you
So
do. You do. It'll be interesting to
yeah,
see where it's hosted, you know. They're talking of, and I know I'm jumping to a different subject, but just thinking about Canelo working with Eddie Hearn, but I
yeah.
imagine it's going to be in Vegas or something. But you know, they're talking of Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk being in Saudi Arabia.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what I've seen.
yeah. That's well, I don't like that, but it's just the
Yeah.
way the sport is right now. They just think about who can bring in more money, who can
Hmm.
which event can bring in more money, and of course we know those guys over there are really filthy rich, and
Yeah.
they are able to really organize a spectacular event. So that's how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They built that stadium for Joshua versus Ruiz too, and it looked pretty nice. The way they went about that. So
Yeah.
I imagine they may do something like that, assuming that one has been taken down or whatever.
Yeah, like my friend Anthony, I gotta give a shout out to Anthony Wayne, right? He's like very
Oh yeah,
against
yeah,
that because of political reasons. And I do
yeah,
understand that. It's not really well very fair or moral to hold such big tournaments or fights there, but yeah,
yeah, yeah.
but
That political aspect is definitely one that raises the eyebrows there for sure.
yeah, it's it's just the way the game is. The business is business simply. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a freaking boxing. You know, they're gonna do what they
Yeah,
can do to fill up those pockets.
yeah, yeah,
I know there was talk of Tyson Fury fighting over there once as well.
yeah. Furious. That's next weekend, of course. Yeah, the big
that's going to be a huge fight. Yeah.
Yeah, finally, I can't wait. Well,
Yeah, I
it's
had last heard they had like 94,000 plus tickets sold or something like that. It was just
wow.
crazy, right?
Yeah, that's pretty
See,
pretty
nothing like
incredible.
those UK fans. I mean, they really
Oh,
come out and turn up for boxing.
yeah. They are just in a league of their own, of course.
And you know, and they put it in the equitable place. Of course, if this were in the U.S., oftentimes they'll put it in Vegas, and you know, the arena usually
Hmm.
holds like, well, the MGM holds like 17,000. Just thinking about like Mayweather Pacquiao, for instance,
Yeah.
there was just more about the money as opposed to
Hmm.
getting as many sort of butts in seats as you possibly can. You know,
Yeah.
they
Show
do
me
it
the
well over
money.
there. Yeah, they do
Yeah.
it well over there, you know, by doing it in a place like Wembley or, you know, the O2 Arena or something, you know.
Yeah, I mean, why, of course, then why just why stage those fights in Saudi Arabia when you have much better turnout. I mean, the
Yeah,
fans. I mean, some of them will, of course, travel from UK to, but still over there in UK, you know, you will have the maximum amount of those fans who will put on such a show, of course, themselves. Yeah.
yeah, they would turn out. Yeah, I think a
Mm.
rematch between Joshua and Usyk would sell a lot of tickets because they had 70 something thousand last time around. Might be even bigger, even more now, especially off the heels of this Tyson Fury Dillian Whyte fight.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a pretty big fight. And I don't know if this will be, Fury said this will be his last, but I don't
Oh
believe
yeah, I
that.
heard that. Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
not. Definitely not if he gets a chance at undisputed with so it'll be interesting in terms of how that goes as far as say if
Yeah.
Joshua wins. I don't know if there's another rematch clause or what, but if there is gonna be, or if someone's gonna step aside, I don't see Usyk wanting to step aside to have a Joshua versus Fury fight take
Mhm.
place were he to lose. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think simply Usyk is such a wrong opponent for Joshua, because
Yeah,
he's so good, simply and tough and really hard to knock out. Of course, maybe
yeah,
impossible even. You know, so
yeah. Maybe
he's
Joshua is gonna have to. He's gonna have to, show a different side in terms of
yeah,
character because I think he's gonna have to, win by force because I don't think he can outbox Usyk.
no way, no way, and that's his big. I mean, his major advantage is the power and physical, side, the size. So he must really use that
Yeah,
maximally to win, and otherwise, no way. I mean, if you are
and he
not
might be a
able
bit
to,
more inclined had he not been stopped by Andy Ruiz because
yeah,
since then he hasn't really shown that side except against Pulev a little bit.
yeah, Pula, he was already so old and
Yeah,
wasted. Yeah,
yeah,
but of course, I think Usyk will most likely win again, but there's a chance that he can, that Joshua can do something like score some knockdowns, some win on points, or maybe, I don't know, maybe get a later stoppage some way if he manages to cut Usyk badly and stuff like that,
yeah,
or
yeah,
close his eye, whatever.
yeah, indeed. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I wanted to
Yeah.
ask, had you seen the highlights or anything of the Erickson Lubin versus Sebastian Fundora fight?
Oh, yeah. Fundora, that guy is really
Yeah,
a
he
machine. He's amazing, really. Yeah.
Yeah, Fundora, yeah, he is such an interesting, the unique unicorn type of character in boxing, given his size and him fighting at
Yeah.
middleweight. It always looked so weird seeing him in there, But
Yeah.
man, he's built of some different stuff because he doesn't even use his size in the way that you would think. He's just about
Yeah.
getting in there and banging it out by any means.
Yeah. He's not like Paul Williams, really. He's more like Tommy Hearns,
Oh yeah,
when he
yeah,
was
yeah,
a welterweight or a super welterweight,
yeah.
towering above everybody. So,
Yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
Fedora, you look good.
I really like his fighting style, definitely. Very entertaining and very effective
Hmm.
so far. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. And this is a solid win for him. I'm actually working on a video for YouTube on Sebastian Fendora, just tapping into a modern fighter because I've been doing a lot on the
Pandora.
older fighters. Yeah,
he
I've been doing a
his
lot on the older fighters.
last
So
name, yeah, his last name definitely suits him. He's a fun Dora, like
yeah,
fun to
Fundora.
watch, Dora.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got you there. Yeah, he's I think he's a major player there at 154 pounds. So I
yeah,
say, oh yeah, we were chatting about this. I say, watch out, everyone, whether you're Jamel Charlo, Brian Castano, Julian, uh, Julian The Rock. What is his last name? I can't think of his name.
Williams or
Williams,
something.
yes, Williams.
Yeah,
Julian Williams, whomever is considered a top 54 pounder. I think that Fundora has shown that, man, he's going to be a tough outing. Now, there was a breakthrough with Lubin. Of course, he was able to knock Fundora down, but man, he had to take a ton of punishment to be able to do that. And his face was grotesquely swollen. So I thought it was a very good
yeah,
stoppage. And that's when you
yeah.
need corners to step in for those types of situations.
Yeah, Lubin is perhaps the more like a harder puncher when it comes to single
Yeah.
punches. Being able to hurt you more with single punches. But Udora is a like very effective volume puncher, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like Margarito, those guys, Antonio
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Margarito. Yeah, so in
Yeah.
that way, yeah, he's not much like Hearns because Hearns was he could really easily knock you out with one, punch
Yeah.
with the right hand, especially. Yeah.
Cobra
So
Strike.
yeah, just boom, like a shotgun.
Indeed. So yeah, I've been looking into some of Fendora's fights, of course, because I'm making a video, and I had seen a number of them. So there is a way to get to him, but part of it, you're gonna have to take some punishment, and you can be a guy who could potentially outbox him if you were able to stay away
Yeah,
from him for the entire fight, which is hard to do for the majority of
yeah,
fighters, to stay away the entire fight when you got a guy who's stalking in, who is a volume puncher the way that he is, which is why it was tough to take out Margarito for some. So
yeah,
he can be, I feel, be defeated. He had this fight with this guy by the name of Gervonta Clark that was a split draw, and Clark seemingly outlanded him, or by company box points he did. But he was landing a lot of sort of single punches. That's what I think helped him out in spurts or whatever. And he would try to mix in some combinations, and he had some big stuff that looked good to the judges' eyes, but he also was taking some shots as well. But he was basically moving around the entirety of the fight. And he was hurt. He got hurt in one of the rounds and was about to go down, but he pulled Fundora down with him. So I think, yeah, it just takes, you got to be dialed in the entire fight for 12 rounds at this point if you're going to beat Fundora. So we'll see how he
yeah.
does.
Yeah, I mean, nobody will have an easy time beating him. No way.
Yeah. And so also on this card was Tony Harrison, Tony the Tiger. He beat
Yeah,
Sergio Garcia, who's another fighter from Spain who was pretty solid. He's not like, well, he's solid fundamentally. He's not like a athletic guy or whatever, just solid fundamentals. And he's had a number of fights. He's 30 plus fight veteran, in that sense. But he just doesn't have any sort of extra, nothing flashy or splashy about him. So Harrison was able to outbox him over the course of the 10 rounds that they fought.
Right.
And then Ryan Garcia defeated Emmanuel Tago in his return bout. So Ryan Garcia.
I think I saw also some kind of, but that was like highlights from each round. So it was almost like I watched the whole fight,
Yeah.
That Ryan was really, really dominant. But he's that guy he's from Ghana, and they're tough as hell, those guys. So he lasted the distance, and he was dropped, I believe, in the, I don't know, third round or something, second.
Yeah,
So
Ryan was trying to get to him. He was trying to take him out. It was tough to
yeah,
sustain it for the entirety of the fight.
yeah. And that guy even kind of came back towards the end and landed some good punches at Tagua, however
Oh
you
yeah,
call
yeah,
him. Yeah.
yeah. He showed some
So
grit about him, you know.
yeah, even though he of course clearly lost, really clearly, like
Yeah,
yeah,
I
11
mean,
rounds to one or something like that.
yeah. I thought that was good. I thought Ryan Garcia looked pretty good coming back from his layoff and everything. And I think,
Yeah,
yeah, he's one of the top 135 pounders, and I truly feel that way now. I know early on, you know, I think myself, I know a lot of others might have questioned like how good is he? I think he's definitely one of the best that is out there at
yeah,
135. So he'd be a challenge for all, and I'd make him a favorite over some of the guys. Interestingly enough, that others may think would beat him. So hopefully
yeah,
Ryan can keep his head together. He got Joe Goosen as a trainer, who I like Joe Goosen. I think he's a
Drew,
very good
yeah.
trainer.
Yeah, he's an excellent trainer. Yeah, I mean Ryan really can punch, and he's got really good punching accuracy and all that. And punches pretty good from different angles, also I would say. And yeah, that's pretty much his specialty. What he does is punch, and
Yeah.
knock out, mostly knock out people. So he's good at that.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, we'll see how he does. Marlene Esparza beat this Japanese fighter Fujioka, and she could potentially face off against her rival Siniesta
I didn't see that.
Estrada. Yeah, but yeah, it was Esparza won. It was a decision, UD as a matter of fact. But the person she was taking on, the Japanese lady, this is probably her last fight. She said she was going to retire
Right,
prior to the fight, at least, if she lost her belt, which she did, because she was like 45 or something like that. But
right.
she, you know, she was bringing it. But yeah, she was outclassed by Esparza in some regards. But also on that card, Gabriel Rosado took on Shane Mosley Jr. and Shane Mosley
Yeah,
Jr. pulled off the majority decision win. It should have been a unanimous decision. The judges were crazy. But
yeah.
yeah, Mosley Jr. pretty much dominated the fight. And Rosado, he was looking for that one shot, but he was never able to land it.
Yeah, he's about. I mean, it's about time for him to retire. I would say too, and he's like 36 or
Yeah,
almost 30. Yeah.
yeah,
So
he is. I think it's 36.
yeah, he lost just too many fights and has been in too many wars also, and there's no real reason for him except maybe the love of the sport. But then
Yeah,
he should rather take on lesser fighters,
yeah,
who he knows he can beat, right?
yeah, yeah. And you know, I think maybe that knockout he got over Beck the Bully kind of
Yeah,
added a new spark or a little bit new flavor to his career. So he's
probably.
keeping
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Most likely, this. That's what's so dangerous. They get
Yeah,
one more victory like that, and they say, "Oh no, well maybe I'm not so finished after all, and I can still challenge the best guys," and then they get, you know,
yeah,
destroyed.
yeah. He took a lot of punishment against Jaime Munguia, even
Yeah,
though he was able to last the
that's our
entirety.
boy. Jaime Mugia.
Yeah, it was a dominant.
Gotta
So
love that kid. I really love that kid. He can
yeah,
fight.
yeah, he can. You've seen him get better as he's continued to grow in the sport. So
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah,
matter of
he's had a
fact,
few tough fights, with Spike, with Sullivan, and yeah, those
yeah.
guys. So
Regardless of what people try to say, he's not the type that has ducked anyone. He's looking for
no,
any.
of
He was
course.
looking to fight Golovkin back when Golovkin was still a beast, you know?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I don't think he would ever like duck or run from anyone. He's like 39 and 0, I believe now, right? 39 and 0.
Yep, 39 and 0. Yeah, I was just pulling them up. 31
That's not
KOs.
bad at all.
He's only 25. So yeah, he's like
Yeah.
he's continually gotten better, you know.
Yeah, and I believe he can really go on to be a Hall of Famer, and he can maybe he'll break that record, go like 50 and 0 at least.
Yeah, he certainly has the
Yeah,
potential. So yeah,
yeah.
he beat Demetrius Ballard in on February 19th. That's the guy out of this area. I was watching it. But Munguia didn't take any damage, so I'd imagine he's probably ready to go right now. You know what I'm
All
if
right.
a fight aligns or something gets lined up, he because of
Mm,
how that fight went, yeah, I believe he's probably ready now. You know, we'll see.
yeah. And Jermel Charles versus Castine. Well, we can talk about it another time. We already wasted a lot of time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, Jamal. Yeah, it's gonna be
those Argentinian guys, they are really tough, man. Oof. they
yeah. Oh yeah,
they can
they're
fight.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. They are. And you never know. Sometimes you get some who pop up who don't have that name,
yeah,
and then it turns out like, oh yeah, this guy's been floating under the radar, you know.
yeah. It was like, I messed up. I never should have fought this guy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are always the eye-opening ones right there. Just like the
I,
boxer be
I
like, yeah,
believe
what the heck?
that's what Jermel was thinking by like round 10 or 11. Like, oh, why did I fight this guy?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
gonna be interesting, yeah, to see how he looks in this fight. How both of them look now that they've known each other for 36 minutes in there. So it'll be interesting
yeah.
to see who takes control. And then Jamal is gonna take Maciej Seluki. I'm sure I'm saying
Suletsky, yeah. That's
Tuletsky,
right.
yeah,
Oh,
who is
yeah.
a decent opponent. Decent opponent for
Yeah,
sure.
he is, but he's kind of not quite delivered in his last fights always. But he does have some good wins, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like
This is a
Hugo,
mandatory.
Hugo Centeno Jr., he stopped him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and beat a few other guys that were kind of, going towards the end of their prime. Yeah,
Yeah. So he's lost to Andre and of course
yeah,
Danny Jacobs. So he's like sort of one of those budding guys. It'll be a good test, but it apparently is a mandatory. So we'll see how Jamal looks. But of course, we want to see Jamal against like David Benavidez. They seem to have some chatter, and apparently the teams were fighting with each other in the middle of the pay-per-view last night, apparently.
oh,
During the Gamboa
yeah,
versus Cruz fight, there was a lot of commotion. I only caught a little bit from the back end. The camera didn't go to it, of course, but apparently, from what I was reading on social media, the Charlo and Benavidez teams were going at it with each other in some capacity.
wow. Yeah, that keeps happening recently in boxing. I don't know what's wrong, but there has been several such clashes. Yeah,
Yeah, so
not
hopefully,
so.
that leads to us actually getting the fight. If they get past their opponents, of course, Benavidez is taking on David Lemieux, who is now 168 pounders. He apparently has two
Yeah,
fights under his belt. But yeah, it'll be
that
interesting.
yeah, that's pretty easy fight, I guess, for Benavidez because of
Yeah, if you look
how.
at styles or
Yeah,
whatever,
I mean,
Lemieux.
he's not. Well, Lemieux is rather undersized, super middleweight, and he's now, at the end of his career, his last leg, I would say. So I
Yeah,
don't think he can do anything really to win. Anyway,
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, in Lemieux's biggest moments, his biggest fights, he hasn't quite lived up to the billing, even though he's very good. Is that his biggest
Yeah,
fights? Yeah, he kind of falls short. But
I think probably, yeah. I mean, when you get stopped, yeah, probably most likely in 8, 9 rounds, maybe even sooner. Maybe I don't know, but yeah,
yeah, his only chance is going to be able to catch Benavidez with something big, which
yeah,
is a if, a big if, if he's able to do
yeah. Of
that. So.
course, you never know for sure, but the chance is small, of course. The
Mhm.
Lemieux can really do that, but you never know, right? Of course.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, Michaela Mayer, Savannah Marshall got wins. So yeah, we kind of covered a lot of what had transpired over
We
the
sure
past.
did. Yeah.
I know time is of the essence in some sense. We'll have to set up something to discuss some of these other ones here in the near future.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Good to go. Yeah, we have good fights coming up this weekend. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll talk about that stuff
Thank,
here to tail end.
thank goodness for that.
Indeed. Well, with that, of course, Slaven, as always, it's always good to get on here and chat about the latest and greatest. So until
Yeah,
next
same.
time.
Yeah. Same here. Sure. Always a
All
pleasure.
right. Have a good
All
one.
right.